When we're young, we have an amazing, positive outlook about how great life is going to be, but somewhere along the line, we forget to dream and end up settling. Join Up Dots features amazing people who refuse to give up and chose to go after their dreams. This is your blueprint for greatness. So here's your host, live from the back of his garden in the UK, David Ralph.
Yes, hello there everybody. How are we today? And welcome to episode 69 of Join Up Dots. I was actually listening to that theme tune, Ben, and I thought, blimey, these words are spot on for today's guest. Amazing, somebody that's willing to go for their own dreams and somebody that won't settle. And hopefully by the end of the show, you'll go, David, you're absolutely right. He is the man. So our guest today seems to be a man on a mission. Since first coming to my attention early last year, he has blazed a path across the online world on as many different platforms as he can. He's an inspiring entrepreneur, online marketer, blogger, podcaster, and personal branding strategist, which isn't a bad list to build a life-changing income from. Originally from Stockholm, Sweden, his mission in life is to help and inspire others to be able to have a life that is 100% on their own terms. If you want to choose your hours, income, lifestyle, or just have, well, a great time whilst you're on this planet, then you couldn't choose a better resource to turn to. He's extremely passionate about helping entrepreneurs, aspiring lifestyle entrepreneurs, and small business owners with their branding strategy, building their authority and personal brand online. He's also the host of the very popular podcast, The Lifestyle Architects, which is flying high in iTunes at the moment, where he interviews inspiring and successful lifestyle entrepreneurs. But of course, this is just a small part of what makes him who he is. So how has he done it? How has he achieved the success that he is getting? And what is a lifestyle entrepreneur exactly? Well, let's find out as we start joining up the dots with the one and only Navid Moazzez. How are you today, Navid?
Yeah, I'm doing great, David. Thanks so much for having me on the show. That's probably the best intro I've ever heard so far on the podcast I've been on. So thanks so much.
No problem at all. It's very important to me to get the introduction right because I think it sets the theme for the show. I liken it to the old Star Wars. Do you remember Star Wars when you'd see the yellow words coming up and you'd sit there reading about it and then you think, yes, this is the show for me. This is the movie for me. I really want to see what's happening here. And I think that's what introductions give us. And it gives us hooks. It gives us areas to go into. So I'm going to go into the very first one that was on there. And I was intrigued about this. What actually is a lifestyle entrepreneur exactly?
Yeah, that's a good question. Basically, it's like any other entrepreneur, but we choose something that we're building our business around something we are passionate about, basically around our lifestyle. So that's basically we're building a lifestyle business, and instead of building the kind of business around the business runs us, it's the other way around basically. So we focus on lifestyle as first, what do we want out of life, and then we build a business to support that.
This might seem a naive question, but isn't that how you should always do it, or is that a new thing that's come in over the last few years?
I think it's nothing new. It's not really, it's basically it's just different from maybe the startup world, because there you need maybe funding for your project, you need some backup, and it takes hard work to become a successful lifestyle entrepreneur as well. But in that sense, it's not the same as being a startup entrepreneur where you need a lot of backup. Lifestyle entrepreneur, you can start off a new project, a new venture. Kind of, you can launch a podcast, a blog, whatever, start building your personal brand online. And that can be done very inexpensively when you're first starting.
It is true, isn't it? We've been speaking very much so about the online world and how, yes, there are risks going into it, but the risks are minimal compared to opening a business or opening some kind of industry, which is brick and mortar, when you've got rent and you've got heating and you've got all those kind of things. It really is shoestring success, isn't it, online?
Yeah, I mean, that's how I started my website. I probably started it with just a WordPress site. I probably set it up with less than $200, like initially when I first started. Then as I went along, I probably invested some more. I did a redesign late 2013. I did a redesign on my website to take it to the next level. But when I first started, started out mid-June of 2013, I didn't have much. I launched on a shoestring budget, as you said, and you can do that if you're not really clear where you want to take your project or new venture. You can launch this way, and then when you are more clear with your message and brand, you can take it to the next level, kind of, and invest more money into your brand.
Because I actually, as I said in the introduction, I remember you bursting into the online world. It was at the same time that I was getting going and I was trying to create my profile. And wherever I turned, left or right, forward or back, your picture kept on appearing. And it seemed to me that you were out there, wherever you were, I imagine in Stockholm, thinking to yourself, right, okay, I want to create an online identity. And the best way of doing this is connecting with as many people as possible. Was that one of your strategies?
Definitely. I mean, that was from day one. I knew I needed to surround myself with like-minded people. You know, we have this quote like, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with, and the Jim Rohn quote. And that's kind of how I try to live my life on a daily basis. You know, I didn't come from a background where I had all these people around me, so I had to build it from scratch. You know, I had to reach out to people, I had to make friends, and that's what I did. You know, early on when I launched my website, as I said, I didn't know many people, so I started to reaching out to them for interviews, basically successful entrepreneurs, online entrepreneurs, and like Pat Flynn and a lot of other people as well. I launched with an interview with Pat Flynn, actually, and that's how kind of this sparked the interest of doing more interviews in order to build my brand around the association of by the other successful people, basically.
It's funny how many people, anyone's following along on these shows, probably may not have known the name of Pat Flynn, but he is mentioned on 95% of the shows. And it is amazing. I was having a conversation with a couple of guys this afternoon who run a career website where you can go there and get advice, and they will help you sort of find the choices in your personal career, not necessarily going entrepreneurial, but just finding jobs that you like more than the one that you're currently doing. And they were all saying, you know, oh yeah, Pat Flynn, he's a celebrity. But in the online world, you are a celebrity, aren't you? But as soon as you step away from that, you are an invisible man. It's not like being Paul McCartney, who's going to be Paul McCartney wherever he goes, and he's going to get recognised. Do you get recognised at all? Because I recognise you, and as soon as I saw your name, I recognised you. Have you ever been walking along the street and somebody says to you, "Are you Navid?"
That's funny, but actually not. Since I don't really market myself towards the Swedish market too much, you know. I don't. The online world is very small, you know. It's a very tight community of people. So I mean, I might know Pat Flynn, but most people, they don't know who he is. Most people, they don't know John Lee Dumas, you know. It's just in this small community, they know him, and you can make a really big impact in a small world, you know. And that's what we are doing here online, and that's enough for me. I don't need to be this super celebrity, you know. I mean, a lot of, even Gary Vaynerchuk, if you take a bigger example, you know, a lot of people, they know who he is, but probably most people on this planet, they don't know anything about him.
It is, yeah, you know? It is so peculiar. But when you're in this environment, you do think that these people are uber successful, which they are, and that you almost forget that nobody else knows who they are.
Yeah. And that's what I think as well. You know, it's I mean, I want to make as much impact as I can for the people who want to follow what I do. I mean, I have my audience, and I'm building and growing it. And if I can really help those people and really make their lives better, that's enough for me. I don't need other people. I don't need to cater to everyone. And I don't think you shouldn't either. You know, if you try to cater to everyone, you cater to no one. So that's kind of my approach to the whole thing. And it was kind of hard going into this, that you have to kind of niche down what you are doing. I was documenting a lot of my entrepreneurial journey when I started, you know, with interviews and all this. But then I get a lot of questions about personal branding and all this. So I thought to myself that, why can't I focus on this, redesign my website, and do something so it looks really great, and then get more clients around this and start building up my portfolio or case studies of people who we've been working with, and that's where I'm going right now with my brand.
Right, let's take you back in time, okay? Let's start joining up some dots. So when you were little Navid running around the streets of Sweden, did you have any aspirations to be anything other than what you've gone into now?
That's very interesting. Probably I had some spark. If you ask my mom or something, she would say that I was like a car salesman. I was selling like these hockey cards when I was a little kid. So I always probably had this drive somewhere. I was always a high achiever. I was playing soccer. I was doing a lot of things. So I think I had it somewhere, but it's not until the recent years I really started to realize this is what I need to do. I need to be my own boss. I need to set my own hours. I need to do what I'm super passionate about and what I'm good at. But it was not always this way, of course.
Have you been an employee? Have you worked the 9 to 5?
I basically, I can tell you a little bit how it started. I went to high school, actually I went to high school in Stockholm, not in Stockholm. I went in my hometown, but then I moved to the United States for 1 year to play soccer, and then I came back. I finished my high school in Sweden, and then I got right away into law school, and that felt right at the time. I thought it was the career path I was going to pursue in my life, to become a really successful lawyer, to go into a top tier law firm. But then, like 3 years in, I realized that's not what I want to do. That's not my true calling in life. So I decided basically to start reading up a lot of personal development. And obviously, I had some jobs along the way, like different kind of jobs, and I would work at the bank, and stuff like that. And but it was never something I wanted to do. It's always been for the money. I did all these things, and that never felt right. And the same with why I went into law school. I knew that it's a really great career path if you want to do it, but for me it was basically because I thought it was the path to go if I want to make a lot of money, because it's one of the professions where it's high up on the status, the ladder, and you make pretty good money, as probably one of the best you can do if you go through school and you get a job and become a lawyer. But entrepreneurship is so much more freedom. You can set your own hours. You can scale your business faster as well. So, I mean, if I take it over a certain amount of money, I make even more than I would as a lawyer.
And you do it, and you keep total control of it. That's the thing that appeals to me so much at the moment. I'm doing this. I'm speaking into the microphone. I'm producing. I'm editing. I'm connecting with people, and it's totally on the time that I want to do it. Now, yes, there are certain restrictions. I throw my calendar out and I say to people like yourself, Navid, choose a time, will you come on the show? So I've got to make sure that I'm here at this time, as you do. But other than that, it's a free-for-all. You can pretty much sort of sort it out for yourself. And that is intoxicating to me at the moment, after being in business for so many years, having to really work half hour to get half hour off, or, look for holiday at certain times when nobody else was on holiday. This is freedom with huge amounts of restraint as well.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't agree more. It definitely is. How I did it. I transitioned. I went to law school. I didn't even finish all of it. I finished maybe 3 years. Then I realized it's not for me. And even I was good at it. I was not bad. I could have probably become a good lawyer, but I've never hit like mastery, as Robert Greene talks about. I recently interviewed him on the show, my show, The Lifestyle Architects, and he talks about this. You can probably do something, but then you will feel drained. Maybe in your 30s or even late in early 40s, you'll feel like this is not really what you should do, and then you will probably change career path, or it would be like you cannot hit mastery basically and become the best you can be if you not enjoy it, like really with passion and all this. So that's what I started to look for other answers. I read a lot of books on personal development, started with relationships with kind of how to win friends and influence people. Then I read a few other books as well, Think and Grow Rich. And that was my start. That was the start into kind of leading up to entrepreneurship. Then obviously we probably all know 4-hour work week and all this. So when I went to seminar, I basically connected with people and I saw this was possible, this dream, the lifestyle they were living. And that's when I started to realize maybe I should take some action and do it myself, basically.
You can't go back, can you? Do you know my first two books, Navid?
What did you
Did
say?
you know my first two books that I read?
No, I don't.
Think and Grow Rich and The 4-Hour Work Week. Exactly the same as you.
Yep.
And
very similar. Very similar to me.
I was reading Think and Grow Rich only because I'd seen it so many times mentioned, and I'd never bought it. And then I saw it very cheaply on Amazon, and I thought, okay, I'll buy this. And as I started reading it, I knew it wasn't going to teach me anything, but it opened my eyes. And then once I cemented that with the 4-Hour Work Week, I remember distinctly sitting on my sofa, getting to page 44 of the 4-Hour Work Week, and I realized my life could never change again.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. For me, it was kind of the same way. Think and Grow Rich. I knew from the beginning, like, I playing lots of sports growing up, soccer. I knew mindset is very important, but I wanted to really, before I started my business, I really knew this is not easy. It's gonna take a lot of hard work, dedication, and all this. A lot of hustle and also passion for what you do. Because if you are going to make it in your industry or whatever you do, you need to be somewhat passionate about what you do or enjoy the process. But for me, I wanted to be passionate so I can work on my craft every single day, so I become the best. I read a lot of books on my topic of personal branding, what I focus on now, because I want to take it to the next level and become better than other people in my field and learn more, basically. And that's probably the best way to really learn something. If you are not an expert right now, you can read a lot of books. Start there. It's a great way to really get expertise in something.
I was reading somewhere online, because I do a certain amount of stalking and research on you, and I was reading that your podcast, which is doing very well for yourself, so congratulations on that. You were frightened to enter into that because you're not a naturally born English speaker. Although your English is perfect, you actually had that little voice in your head saying, this isn't for me because I'm not a natural English spoken presenter. Why did you have that?
Yeah, I mean, early on, I can tell you a fear I had when I started in last year in mid-June. Basically, I was kind of a coincidence. Pat Flynn was having an event for his book launch, of kind of a book event for Let Go, his best-selling book, and he was having this event where he let people from his audience or whatever interview him, and I reached out to him, and that put pressure on me. I didn't even launch my site yet, before. So I had this date. I had this date for the interview, and then a few days after the interview, I needed to launch my website. And that was my first interview ever. Imagine interviewing someone like Pat Flynn, like for your first interview. It was quite scary, Even Pat Flynn is super nice and all this, but for me, like, I had to put together some questions and all this, and it's not, as you said, my native language. And I thought to myself, this is scary for me, but I need to face my fears and just do it, basically. And that's what I've done. I'm getting better and better. Now my interviews is getting more kind of in depth, deeper. So I love to talk about more deeper. Like, get deep into the conversation with someone and get the most value out of it. So that's why I tend to do a little bit longer interviews as well now for my show, around 60 minutes or so. And that has been working well for me and for my audience. And some people even say that they would pay for the content because it's better than other paid stuff out there, even though I provide it for free.
And a couple of your podcasts, I was looking, they go like an hour and 3/4.
Yeah, that was not normal, but that was just because we had such a good time, and usually it's around a 1 hour mark, but yeah.
So when you prepare, do you write questions? Because I don't write any questions at all. I write my introduction, I get a flavour of what you're about, and then I press record and away we go. So do you bullet point what you actually want to ask these people?
I do sometimes, because I have some direction where I want to take it. It's not always about the story. In this interview is different because you are kind of diving into my story and what I'm doing. In my case, I do that sometimes. I go behind the scenes and all this, depending on the person. But usually I tend to dive deep into a topic. For example, with Robert Greene, I could have talked about his story and all this, but I wanted to talk about a specific topic on mastery. The same thing with I recently had Nick Reese on the show. It was super popular, and basically we dove deep into this topic of how you can become an expert and basically position yourself as an expert to charge premium prices. And we dove deep into this, and that's why it's doing extremely well. A lot of people get value because they can take action from the content I provide. That's kind of my goal with it, as well as the inspirational this that comes with it.
Being a master is important to you, isn't it? You've mentioned that word about 3 times so far about mastery.
I mean, not yeah. I mean, mastery is a kind of a loaded word. It doesn't mean that you have necessarily need to be the best in the world at what you do. You just need to be a little bit better than someone else. But we have this 10,000 hour concept. And yeah, if you work hard on your craft every single day, you will become good at it. But the thing is that most people, they tend to quit before they reach this point. And I don't believe in like this talent people are talking about. Obviously, most people, I could probably never become a basketball player in NBA, but I'm not tall enough, or maybe I don't have the right circumstances for it. But certain things you can, like for example, starting out online, you can decide on a topic you really like to learn more about. Then you can just go out and study what other people are doing, maybe model other people. You like someone's business model, see what they are doing, and see how this can apply to your business. And that's what I'm doing. I look at what other people are doing. I don't copy them. I just model their success and see what's working. And that's what I've done a lot with my programs I'm coming out with now as well.
There's a formula for success which I've seen mentioned. I think it comes from the Napoleon Hill Foundation. There's a chap called Greg Reed who followed. For anyone who doesn't know Think and Grow Rich, basically Napoleon Hill, many years ago, he was offered the opportunity to have a conversation with Andrew Carnegie.
Andrew Carnegie, yeah.
And he was a steel magnate in the sort of late 1890s. And Andrew Carnegie said to this young chap, there's 13 traits that all successful people have got. And I can tell you what those traits are, but I want for the next 20 years, you go around and I will open the doors to the high achievers of the world. And he got access to presidents and Henry Ford and all these other sort of amazing explorers and just high achievers. And a gentleman called Greg Reed has done it again recently, and he's gone round to people who created a mobile phone, and I think Richard Branson was one of those, and he said, are these 13 traits still available to all of us, and are they still applicable? And he came up with a theory, a formula, and it was P times T plus A times A plus F equals success. Now, I'm not going to expect any of you to understand that straight away, but what he says, and I think this is true, if you take P for passion and you times it with talent, so it's no good you being the most passionate person in the world if you haven't got talent to match. And we see that all the time on like X Factor and American Idol, where you get somebody who jumps up on stage thinking they're going to be the next Whitney Houston, and they're just dreadful. So you've got to get the talent to mix with the passion. But then you have to have association. And this is what Navid did incredibly well. When he started back last year, he made sure that he connected with as many people as possible. He got a group around him. He couldn't have done this on his own. So he surrounded himself with masterminds and contacts and points of reference and people that he could actually ask questions to and will help him because they are further ahead than he is. Then he needed to take action. So that's the last A. So you've got passion, talent, association, and action. And then F stands for faith. You've got to have faith, and you've got to be able to push on even when you think you're not getting anywhere. Did you agree with that, Navid? I know it's a strong sort of and quite lengthy explanation, but
yeah,
P times T.
Yeah, definitely. This is actually a very good explanation. I would be a little bit careful with talent, though. I mean, I believe in that to some degree, especially when it comes maybe to musicians and sports, like people in sports. They probably need some talent for it. Otherwise, probably all people could do it. But I believe mostly when it comes maybe to starting a business, you don't need to be super talented at it. You know, like you probably need more. It's more about developing marketable skills, and that's what I believe. That's what I believe in now. All the other things I believe in as well, but talent, you can have some talent for it, but I mostly believe that you can learn. Most things you can learn, and that's how you develop the skills, and then you can basically have something to offer other people. If you can get results for other people through the skills you have, then you have a pretty solid foundation for a business as well.
So how did you work out your skills that you were going to use to provide value to people?
Yeah, basically when I started, I had no clue. So I branded myself by association, as you said. I interviewed a lot of successful people. I got to know them. I became friends with some of them, and I joined masterminds. I invested in myself a lot, and I saw what other people were doing in this field, and maybe online marketing. I invested some courses. I read a lot of books, and then I figured out that yeah, I need to learn something and become really good at it. And then that's when I started to get a lot of questions on kind of this concept of personal branding, and that's when I met my designer as well, and back in December of 2013, and we started working together. And during this process of working together with him over a month or even long now, he's on my team now, but I was working with him, and then I became even more passionate about this concept of personal branding and helping other people build their personal brand online. So it's not just about a website. It's also about the strategy to get there, how you build your authority, how you get your word out there, how you connect with other people. There's so many things that goes into this, and that's what I'm trying to really become really good at, this personal branding and basically branding strategy for online entrepreneurs, creative entrepreneurs, you know.
So how do you describe your personal branding then? What angle are you going with yourself?
I mean, when I tell people what I do, I help basically creative entrepreneurs build kick-ass brands so they can achieve greatness in business and life. Because I believe that in order to stand out in this marketplace, it's so crowded online. You need a strong personal brand. Whether it's like launching a podcast like you've done, you're building your personal brand right now, you know, and that's a great way, you know. But then as well, I see a lot of people. That's why I launched my branding agency and helping also people with website designs. I'm not a designer, but I know what works, and that's why I have my designer on my team, so we can actually provide really amazing websites. When people want to take it to the next level, they can also hire me as a maybe branding consultant, or even take it to the next level with the design, with my designer. It's not cheap with doing this. That's why we are also developing some themes for people so they can use when they are just starting out. So I'm trying to see the different segments of the market where I'm at. I want to target high end, you know, I want to go into this premium market, but I see for maybe creative entrepreneurs or online entrepreneurs like yourself, you know, when you're starting out, you can probably not afford a $3,000+ website. You know, it's hard. So that's why we decided maybe we should develop some themes and include in my maybe coaching programs I will have, you know, going forward, and helping other people go through this path which I've done.
It's so relevant to what I'm going through from what you're saying there, where at the moment I hold my hand up. I'm suffering from superhero syndrome, which they talk about, that I'm having to do every single thing myself. And I've mentioned this in numerous shows that if I can get this podcast to a level of success where a certain amount of administration can be taken away from me, and I was listening to a podcast, and this chap, and I can't remember who he was now, and he said that he pays $900 a month to have every single thing done for him, that he just turns up, sits in front of the mic, and bang, he talks. And he said that he's bringing in about $6,000 for that 900. So all the rest of that is just freedom and money that's coming to him. That's genius, isn't it?
That's perfect, and that's what Chris Ducker talks about. You know, his book Virtual Freedom. It's amazing. When I read that, I just I just knew that as soon as I get to this level of success, I mean, I do have some clients and all this, but I'm trying to launch now some kind of program to kind of package up my knowledge, because I cannot scale like one-on-one coaching that much unless I really raise my prices. But I want to package up my knowledge so I can serve more people in a bigger way and make more impact and also more money down the road as well. And that's when I will also hire people maybe to do my ads on Facebook. I'm not really good at that stuff. Maybe doing the editing for my show. I don't like that at all. So basically taking those things away from you that you don't like, maybe repurposing your content even, on your website, putting it on SlideShare, whatever you want to do. It's so many things you can do to get out there in a bigger way online if you have a team around you. And that's why I'm so happy that I met this designer, because we have a great chemistry in that sense that he understands exactly what I want, and I can just tell him, here's my vision, here's what I need, you know, and I also bring him clients, and I make also money from that. So that's a great way for me to make money without doing much work right now, as I'm building my business.
So how did you find this marvelous person in your life?
Yeah, I mean, it's quite simple actually. I don't go to Elance, Odesk, and all these platforms, especially if you want to build a long-term relationship and work with a designer, and maybe he wants him to really understand you and get you and really be a part of your team. Then I would suggest that you go on websites you like online, and in the footer area of the sites, usually they have a link to who designed their website. And I probably went through around 200 websites. So I really studied the websites, and I said, what do I like about this website? What don't I like about this? It's a lot of things that goes into it. And I started to write things down. And then I started to contacting different people. I gather email addresses, and I had some Skype conversations. And this guy just felt right to me. I mean, when I spoke to him, I understood that he knew my vision for design. We have the same mindset. And yeah, he also understands online marketing, which was very important to me. So he actually makes a site that converts. So that stuff is matters. But with that being said, you can get a lot of great stuff done from online talent platforms like Elance and Odesk and Fiverr even.
I've had quite a lot of work done with Fiverr, and
Yeah, and it's great.
You have to hunt through, and I've got a bit of WordPress issues at the moment, only because I can't be bothered. I'll be honest. I could go onto YouTube and hunt how to do these certain things, but I just want someone to do it. And you pay $5, and I must have went through 5 people, so it took me about 4 weeks. But now I found someone, funnily enough, in Sweden, and yeah, they did it, and now I'm going to go back to them and get something else done. I think, just let them do it. So if you can find the right person, as you say, things like Fiverr, marvelous resource.
Exactly. Like that's a good point. If you find someone that is really good, then stick with it. But like really for developing this long-term relationship, especially when it comes to website design, which is really important, and that's kind of your face to the world, if I say so, like how your website looks. Maybe you don't have to have the most amazing website when you start. You all start from zero kind of, and unless you have a big budget and know what you want, then by all means start with a premium WordPress theme. But then when you get clear over your message and brand, you need to take things to the next level, because this is a crowded market. You need to have a great website. I think it's super important to stand out, to have a great website design, and you should do it as soon as possible from when you're starting. So maybe for you it's 2 months in. For me it was 6 months. That felt right. It's only you that knows the answer to this, but I believe in great website design is really the key. It's sometimes even more important than great copywriting. A lot of people will probably disagree with me, but I think great design can, if they connect with you, they buy from you as a person, and that's even more important than copywriting. Sometimes I tend to tell people that come to me, I help them with storytelling, how they tell their story, and that's a great way to build your brand. obviously copywriting is also important, so that's a great way to focus. But design, I believe, is going to take things to the next level.
Yeah, the sort of avatar of the show are the people out there that are sitting there on the tube, on the bus, going to work in a job that they not necessarily hate, but they are getting that vibe as you have and I have, but there's more to life. And what I keep on sort of saying in a lot of the shows is, when you start off, it doesn't have to be perfect. You can have an ugly site because no one's looking. And it's your opportunity at the beginning to make mistakes, play around, try and find your angle. You know, if you listen to these shows now that I'm doing, and your episode 69, the first one was really me trying to find my place and knowing what to do. I think it was about 30 in that I started to think, okay, I'm starting to get a flavour of what I want to do. Now I'm really sort of into it. And it is your opportunity, isn't it, to make mistakes and go ugly. And it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be, beautiful to look at. Just get something out there and start.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of my sayings. Act before you're ready. Just do it and take massive action. And that's what I did when I started out online. Basically, I mean, I met a mentor in 2012. We started working together. A lot of my mindset and even kind of working on what I should be doing. And I didn't really take action 2012. It was not until like I had a lot of kind of struggle through that time as well. But it was not until later, I realized, this is what I need to do. I just need to start, set up my WordPress site. It was not perfect, but it was good enough. And it looked good though, because I had a premium theme. You can get that from like Studio Press with a child theme for like $100. Imagine that you can have a really nice website for around $100. That's pretty insane. Like just a few years ago, that was not possible. But today, with the technology online, we can do these things. So there's really no excuse not to get started.
Just have to find your path.
Yeah, definitely. And that's kind of what we are all doing. I found my path. I don't know, you read my story and I can tell you about it as well. I've been talking a lot about it, that my really the drive for me was when my brother passed away in April of last year in 2013, and it was like the most horrible year of my entire life, obviously, and but also the year where I experienced the most personal growth. And I connected with so many people. My birthday is coming up now when we are recording it. It's just in a few days here in May, and last year I didn't have anything. And just this date 1 year ago, I didn't have anything I have now. But I took a lot of action, and that's where I've gone to this point. I have a long way to go, but I'm still just enjoying the journey, basically, and taking it as I go. I take action every day and getting a little bit better.
Although, it's a terrible, terrible thing that your brother passed away, and I'm really sorry to hear that. The sort of thing that is coming out on so many of the shows is at our darkest points, at the time when we really wish that we didn't have to go through it. When we look back, we almost see it with a light shone on it, and we can go, yes, that was my dot. That was the moment that actually my life proceeded in the way I wanted it. I couldn't perceive it at the time. It was just terrible, 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 and I wouldn't want to go through it again, but I can look back with almost rose-tinted glasses on it.
Yeah, when this moment happened, obviously, what I thought to myself is really horrible, even more so for my family. But the thing was that I had started my journey before, but I hadn't really put anything out there for the world to see, and that's kind of bothered me when this moment happened. Because obviously my brother couldn't see what I created and all this stuff, and I also thought to myself, life is extremely precious. You need to make the best out of the time you have here. It's not long, but you can enjoy it as much as you can. And I took some time to myself. I worked extremely hard. Then the moment came in mid-June of 2013 and just decided to put it out there. It was not perfect by any means. My about page was not perfect. My content was probably not perfect, but I just did it, and I'm proud I did. People can even go back to my first blog post on my website and check it out. I don't take it away. It's there for people to see how I progressed and where I am today.
At that point, I think it's the perfect segue into the theme of the show, and that is the words of Steve Jobs. We played it pretty much every single show, and it really evidences the fact that you don't know your path. You just make mistakes, and you stumble, and you fall, and you have some successes, and you develop momentum. So I'm going to play this, and then after Steve finishes talking, I'm going to ask your opinion on this, Navid, and see if it is relevant to you and whether you think there is relevance to all of us in the words of Steve Jobs.
Of course, it was impossible to connect the dots looking forward when I was in college, but it was very, very clear looking backwards 10 years later. Again, you can't connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking backwards. So you have to trust that the dots will somehow connect in your future. You have to trust in something, your gut, destiny, life, karma, whatever, because believing that the dots will connect down the road will give you the confidence to follow your heart even when it leads you off the well-worn path, and that will make all the difference.
Do you follow your heart?
Yeah, definitely. That's what I do now. I wish I could have said so like after high school as well, that I did. I probably was more of a choice because my dad is extremely successful. He's a doctor, and my mom is a teacher, But the thing is, he's from Iran, and my mom is from Sweden. So I always had this kind of pressure to do something great. I want to do something great still, That's not the problem. But the thing is, the only thing I knew was to go either become a doctor, dentist, civil engineer, or basically lawyer, And I got into one of the top law schools in Sweden. I thought this felt right, but a few years in, as I said, it was not for me. And kind of if I look back, I think that seeing that I had some drive for getting into stuff like this, like entrepreneurship, but maybe I was not sure. Maybe I was afraid of doing it at that time. And I believe something that Robert Greene talks a lot about is actually no moment is wasted if you learn the lessons contained in every experience. And for so long, I was devastated that I went through even as almost 5 years of law school, and I didn't really do anything with it, That's kind of how I felt for a very long time until I started to reflect over it and why I am at this point today.
But there's no such thing as a failure, though, is there? I'm really clear on that now. I've done many things in my life, and certainly on the online world, where I look back on it and I think I should have just carried on with that, and it was almost to the point where success was there, and because I'd lost motivation or because it was just too hard, I stopped. But now I look back on it and I think I couldn't be doing this without doing those things. So they were all sort of failure stepping stones to a better life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we don't know, and I don't believe in fail. The only way you can fail is if you quit, in my opinion. Like quit and don't pivot or anything. Like not all of our ideas will work out. That's okay. And some people, they will call it a failure, but for me, that's feedback. And in every experience, there's some feedback, and if you move in the right direction and take this feedback in, you can go in a different direction. That's what I've done on several occasions. Like when I first started out, I had some other projects I was working on, and they didn't work out. And now I feel more aligned with what I do. It's not like 100% yet, but I'm getting there. I'm getting there more and more. The harder I work, and the more I inject the lifestyle I want, my personality into my brand, I feel more aligned as well.
Do you feel proud of yourself, Navid, now? If you go back to the person who feels like they wasted 4 years at law school, I can imagine you dragged that around with you for quite a while. Do you actually look in the mirror now and go, yes, I'm really at my point now, and I'm proud of what I'm doing?
Definitely. I couldn't say it better, because for so long I was afraid to even talk to people about this. Like in law school, I didn't even go through the entire thing, and even not all people will like what I do, my decisions, whatever, but it's my decision. And now that I've taken the action and really put something out there for the world to see, I'm really proud. Other people are coming to me. I'm getting emails from people I don't even know, and they find me online, and that's amazing. I can have so much bigger impact on the world, on the people I serve, in what I do now than being a going through this path and becoming a lawyer, for example. Even though it's great for some people if you want to go this path, I'm not really hating on people who want to get a career as a lawyer. It's just that if it's not for you, you should really find something else that you truly enjoy and make something out of it and take really a lot of action to get there.
Well, somebody's listening into this and they're listening to your words intently, and they have got this idea in their head, and it could be any idea, and they want to start. And they are probably going, okay, it's not going to work because of this, it's not going to work because of that. When you started off right at the very beginning, you were saying that you had no online presence, you didn't even have an idea of what you wanted to do. What was the one thing that you would say, or maybe there isn't anything, that separates you from that listener that's listening in with that idea? What super skills have you got that they haven't got?
Really, when I started, I probably didn't have any super skills. The only thing I did was to start. But if I can give them like something that they can take away with them, is that you need to develop some skills. You need to be good at something. You need to have some form of passion for it. I mean, some people, they talk about if you are good at this and you become so good that it's actually turning into a business, then you're also passionate about it. So it's kind of two-way process. But I would really focus on develop some really marketable skills, and then it helps that you are passionate about it, because that's actually something you will work on and work hard on, because building this online presence or authority, personal brand online, whatever you want to call it, it takes a lot of hard work, dedication, passion for what you do, and you have to hustle basically to get there, to work on your craft every single day. Because I mean, I'm sure it takes a lot of time to record these shows and prepare for them. And I do the same thing for my show and my webinars. I'm going to have my live webinars I will be hosting down the road here as well. So it takes some time. And then the last part is you need to be able to monetize what you do. So going to some fields like basically like can you save or make people money? That's one way. That's a really great way. Like health and fitness, or basically relationships. That's kind of the three areas you should be focusing on. That's where you can really, if you develop skills in those areas, you can make money as well. And if you're passionate, that helps. You will focus on it for longer and make it a really sustainable business.
I think one of the most liberating statements that I have heard anyone say, and you might be expecting me to be talking about Gandhi and all these sort of renowned figures of history, but I remember hearing a quote from Steve Martin, the American comedian actor, and he just said that when you start, be so good that they can't ignore you. And I thought, that's brilliant.
Yeah, I mean that's a brilliant statement. I've actually there's a book by someone, I think it's also called something like that. I don't know who wrote it, but that's amazing. And I think you should really focus on this. I mean, I don't focus on my competitors too much. I look what they are doing. I look what other people in my field they're up to. I kind of model if they are more successful than me and have reached more success. I look and model them, but I don't really see, okay, just because he is doing personal branding or whatever it is, I can't do it. So basically keep your eyes on your own paper. That's what Laura Roeder, she said that in an interview I had with her. It's very powerful because a lot of people will be doing the same things as you, and there's really no unique ideas sitting around online. You can find anything you want. It's just about finding that maybe special sauce that you have that you can bring to the table, and that can be your personality, your story. How do you connect with people? And in my case, a lot of people, they connect with my story, and that's how that's why clients, a lot of people tend to buy from me as well.
It is amazing, isn't it, when you find yourself and you become the person that you want to be, whether it's on a mic or on a blog or just dealing with clients. It's like, once again, it's like your eyes have just suddenly opened and you think to yourself, hang on, this is just being me. I'm not putting a cloak on. I'm not pretending that I'm somebody that I'm not. I'm just being absolutely authentic to myself, and I'm getting more success than I've ever had before. And it still blows my mind, that, because it seems too simple. We're all us, aren't we? We've all got those skills, but for some reason we stop using them, and we try to mask ourselves into other people, effectively becoming less effective.
Yes, I mean that's very true. And something else here that's important is you need to have a strong why. You need to figure this out. Why are you doing what you're doing? People, they will not buy what you do, they buy why you do it. And this famous quote by Simon Sinek there. But that's how it is. You need to figure out, why do you get up in the morning and work on your craft. If you can figure this out and have a really strong sense of why you are doing it, then you can also turn this into a sustainable business, because you will not give up. We all have these down moments. I have them. I have down moments. You have them. And a lot of successful entrepreneurs, they do as well. But we need to push through those moments, and that's when we grow. We play outside of our comfort zones, and yeah, basically it's just a journey. And if we will not be successful if we don't enjoy the journey, because it's gonna be these down moments.
You've got a journey that you follow. You've got dots to follow, but you just have to take action, don't you?
Basically, yeah. You just need to start. Get something out there. You will get feedback as you move on, and that's what I say to people. Obviously we can talk about all the strategy and all this, but if you don't really enjoy what you do, you don't have the why and all these things, you will not work on it. The tactics, they're easy to learn, but you need to have the mindset behind everything, and that's kind of where it starts. That's how you will build a really sustainable business long term, because we are in this for the long term, and it's not a sprint, it's a marathon to build your authority and this very amazing, profitable personal brand online. We are all striving to do.
Here's a question for you, and I've mentioned this to quite a few guests, so I'm going to ask you as well. Why do you think that we all look at the highlights of people's life and think that is what we need to achieve? Why do we always look at the pinnacle and not the struggles?
Yeah, I mean, that's a very good question. I know for myself, for example, I look at someone, we can take an example like Gary Vaynerchuk. You see who he is now. He's super successful, making tons of money, but we don't really see the struggle. We can read up on his story, of course, and figure everything out, but it's hard to relate still a little bit, because he's been in the game for many years. And that's also the reason why I did what I did, because I was new to the field, and I saw someone like Sean Ogle. He started out about 5 years ago. It's kind of similar fashion than I did. He was bored of his kind of regular life and all this, and he wanted to document his journey online. And he started a blog and wrote about things that he did, and how he was building his business and all the people he connected with. And I kind of saw this, and I did as well. So people can actually see how I built it from day one. And people can, maybe in 5 years from now, I'm doing a lot of different things, but they can still see my blog post day one and what I did there. And that's powerful. I think more people can do this, and people can actually follow along the journey, because that's how we connect. I think that's how a lot of people, they will come into my business and brand, because they can actually see, okay, he was at this point where I am now, and that's why I will buy from him. That's why I will become like a long-term customers, because I don't want just short-term customers. I want these long-term clients and that I work with. They buy everything I put out there, basically. And a lot of people talk about this concept as well. Like, that's how you build a really, really great business for yourself, and that can take your life and business to the next level.
Just before I put you on the mic, on the Sermon on the Mic, and we send you back in time to have a one-on-one with your younger self, where would you like to be in 3 years' time?
3 years' time, I would like to be traveling more. I have traveled like quite a lot, before, but now I decided to stay here more, because I want to focus on building the business. If I can see in 3 years, I want to spend some time in the US, because I have a lot of friends there. I have a lot of mastermind buddies there, and in California specifically. So I'd like to spend some time there. I have my first mentor. He's in Colombia. So I would like to kind of divide my time through different zones of the world. Obviously, hopefully have like nice girlfriend, all this stuff, that comes in with it. But first of all, I need to build kind of design my lifestyle the way I want. And that goes into building my business and kind of streamline, as we talked about before, not doing everything yourself, like kind of outsourcing some bits of it so I can have more time to focus on things I'm good at. And it's also I can enjoy my life and live this really amazing lifestyle. So, and I like to have a home base somewhere. I like Sweden in the summer, but the winters are not great here. So I like to, I mean, this as well. You're in the, I guess,
That's
in the
right.
UK. So yeah, so it's, that's one of the reasons I would like to spend it more surfing, enjoying my time with friends in different countries around the world.
It doesn't sound a bad lifestyle, and having a lovely girlfriend, I wouldn't mind one of those, but my wife wouldn't like it, so I'm going to have to put that on the back burner. So let's play the music. This is a sermon on the mic, and as I say, this is when we send you back in time to have a one-on-one with your younger self. And if you did walk into a room and you sat down next to the 5-year-old or the 11-year-old or whatever age Navid you choose, what would you say to him? So this is the sermon on the mic.
Here we go with the best bit of the show, the sermon on the mic, the sermon on the mic.
Yeah, so basically, I mean, if I would talk to my younger self, as you said, I would probably look back and see, I was playing a lot of sports. I would probably see, I was always believing in myself, but in some way, I kind of thought, I was always thinking what other people think of me early on in my life. What would they think if I don't score in this penalty? What would they think if I don't get a high grade on this exam, and so on? So that's one thing I would really get rid of, this behavior, the thinking of what other people think of me. And because now I don't care what other people think of me at all. And that's kind of how I've been able to get this off the ground, like launching my site and not give up during the down moments, and not even having my dad sometimes is not even on my side, like in terms of what I'm doing. He's supporting me in other ways, but not like he thinks still I should go back to law school and all this, obviously. But I just push through. I push through these moments, and basically I think that's it. And also starting sooner. I probably had some drive early on, but as we all know, it's important to get all these experiences that I have now. And who knows, if I didn't have all the experiences, then I maybe wouldn't be where I am today. So we can look at many entrepreneurs, and they started when they were older as well, but they had some experiences, and that's probably what led me up to this point. I met the right people at the right time, and they kind of made me go this route as well, like, because I saw it was possible. I saw they were living this amazing lifestyle. They didn't have to go to a 9-to-5 job, and that's really, it sparked an interest in me to become this person I am now and really work on myself every single day, because I'm huge on personal development. And that's kind of, I would like reading books earlier as well. Like, I was not a big fan of books when I was younger. I didn't read any books, only if they forced me in school. And now I'm reading probably 2 to 3 books a week. And for since last year and this year, I took it up to 3 books sometimes a week. So that's what I would have done sooner. I would have found my path even earlier if I did that. But I don't regret anything. Everything happens for a reason. And that's why I'm here today.
Navid, how can people who have been listening to you and they are inspired by your conversation and your passion, how can they connect with you?
Yeah, the best way I would say is my website, navidmoazzez.com, or if they prefer, they can just go to navid.me. It's easier to spell. And connect with me on Twitter. Tell me that you heard me on this show at Navid Moazzez on Twitter and say hi. You know, I'd love to connect with you more.
It's been an absolute delight having you on the show today. So thank you so much for spending time with us, joining up those dots. And as I say to all the guests, please come back again when you have more dots to join up, because that's the beauty of this format. Our dots continue forward. And so at any point, you can come back on and tell us about your current successes, because I believe that the only way to build our futures is actually by looking back and connecting our pasts. Navid, thank you so much.
Thanks so much.
David doesn't want you to become a faded version of the brilliant self you were once to become. So he's put together an amazing guide for you called the 8 Pieces of Advice that every successful entrepreneur practices, including the 2 that changed his life. Head over to joinupdots.com to download this amazing guide for free, and we'll see you tomorrow on Join Up Dots.